So we have to make this also long. So we are just getting into media to go on live. That's the only reason getting delayed.
So that's
Hello viewers, today we are going to have a live protest from Australia. Manipur burning and protest and demonstration across the globe like wildfire. So today we are going to have a live protest from Australia NSW Parliament building. So we will have live issues from there. Yes, Sashikumar sir.
Abigail Boyd, MP, Honorable Anthony D. Aaron, MP, former Senator Ms. Levianen, and fellow concerned social thinkers. I stand before you today as we gather in solidarity and compassion to shed lights on a deeply distressing incident that has shaken the conscience of not just one nation, but the world. We come together to protest against the Manipur incident, an appalling act of sexual violence and brutality that has left us all shocked and outraged. Before we proceed, let us take a moment for the acknowledgement of the country.
Good afternoon. I want to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nations, the traditional custodians of the lands on which this building is situated. And here we stand today, and I want to pay my deepest respects to all the elders, past and present. Welcome.
Thank you. In India's northeastern state of Manipur, an incident occurred on the 4th of May that was nothing short of a heinous crime against humanity. A graphic video emerged showing two Kuki Zo tribal women being forced to walk naked through a mob of clothed men. In this heart-wrenching footage, the women appeared terrified, surrounded by men brandishing weapons, as they were subjected to groping and sexual assault. In a society where social media could amplify the voices of the oppressed, why did it take a viral video for this incident to catch the attention of the authorities and the nation? I would like to call upon Ms. Mary Wizo, an eminent woman from Manipur, to provide a valuable perspective on the issue.
Thank you, Kanti. I'm Mary Wizo, and I am honored to have the opportunity to speak to you all today. I would like to extend a warm welcome to the esteemed members of Parliament. Your presence today signifies the importance of our cause and the commitment we all share towards humanity. As we move forward in our agenda today, I hope we can have fruitful discussions and make meaningful progress. Thank you once again for your presence and attention. I stand before you today, not just as a representative of the Kuki Zo people, but as a voice for the voiceless and a beacon of hope for the hopeless. I speak to you with a heavy heart, burdened by the weight of the horrors that my people, the Kuki Zo tribe, have been subjected to in Manipur. As we gather in this hallowed hall, let us not forget that there are people back home who are living in fear, their lives marked by violence and despair, and often overlooked issue of human rights violations in Manipur, a small state in the northeastern corner of India. I am a child of the Mizo tribe in Manipur, and I have been personally affected by the violence. My mother, a government employee in Imphal, and my sister, a nurse, were forced to flee due to the escalating conflict. Many of my relatives found shelter in relief camps, their lives uprooted, their dreams shattered. More than 60,000 Kuki Zo tribe forced to flee, displaced, their homes and churches burned, their lives forever scarred. They are now scattered across Mizoram, Assam, and even as far as New Delhi, away from their homeland, their culture, their identity. And just today I received news that shattered me. The present of my childhood, a place peasant sanctuary has been desecrated. It has been seized and repurposed into the headquarters of extremist group. Ladies and gentlemen, the pain goes deeper. 2 Kuki women paraded naked and gang raped by a mob of extremists. 2 Kuki students handed over to the mob by a Meitei women's group, raped and killed in broad daylight. Their lifeless bodies now lie in the morgue in Regional Institute of Medical Sciences, Imphal. Their families unable to retrieve them out of fear. This is not just a violation of human rights. Rape was weaponized, and lies were spread to target a genocidal campaign against my people. It is a gross affront of humanity itself. This has left the entire community terrorized and devastated, and atrocities continue. A 7-year-old Kuki boy and 2 women burnt alive in an ambulance. These are not just isolated incidents, but part of a larger systematic campaign of hatred, violence, and systematic violation of human rights. A genocide that is happening under our watch. Where is the outrage? Where is the action? Our silence is echoing louder than the cries of those who suffer. Yet despite the magnitude of these crimes, the world remains silent. The roots of this issue lies in discrimination, extremist ideologies, and the lack of accountability. The silence and inaction of authorities that have fueled the cycle of violence. We must unite globally, exert pressure on the Indian government, and foster dialogue for change for all. I appeal to the Australian government, a staunch advocate of peace and equality, to take cognizance in this situation. The Hindu extremist organizations, which have been accused of fueling hate crimes in India, are registered Australian charities and receive substantial government grants. As a responsible democracy, we have questions. We should ask questions where taxpayers' funds are going. Can we justify funding organizations implicated in such atrocities? I implore all members of the Parliament, of the government, to initiate an investigation into these organizations and their funding sources. We cannot be passive observers while innocent lives are being destroyed. We must ensure that our nations and our finances do not inadvertently contribute to the horrors unfolding in Manipur. Ladies and gentlemen, the time is to act now. Let us unite in our quest for justice, not just for the Kuki tribe, but for all oppressed minorities. Let us ensure that our tax dollars do not fund violence, but are used to promote peace, equality, and human rights. Let us strive for a world where every person enjoys the fundamental rights to live in dignity, free from fear and oppression. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. It's going to be more emotional and to know about the exact situation that's happening in Manipur, and also you can understand what happens when it's being forced to flee from the country, actually. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, Ms. Meizu. Your speech provided more context on the inter-ethnic conflict in Manipur, which left the state torn apart by violence and displacement. I now invite Reverend James Jacob to shed light on his views on Manipur incident.
I would like to thank you, Honorable MP Abigail, and welcome you all. We are all gathered here, with a broken hearted and hearts of compassion. All the innocent people. My heart is really big. Innocent girls, what they did wrong in the name of religion. So killing. So we human beings, what we can do? Developed country, so like Australia, what we can do, just to support them and encourage them. I would like to present my way about Manipur. My name is Reverend James Jacob. I have been missionary in India and throughout the world, and I have witnessed first-hand of ongoing persecution of Christian and ethnic minorities in my country. Targeting of permanently Christian ethnic minorities in Manipur has led to more than 100 deaths. So yesterday is 165, and more than 60,000 people forcibly displaced. The violence, including serious violation of the human rights, including sexual violence. This is unacceptable, and countries like Australia must respond to assist this population. I would like to bring your attention to the wide situation of Christian persecution in India. What is happening in Manipur is not isolated. Even though we don't have about in the news, Christians are being persecuted and killed every day across the country of India. India ranks number 11 in the world for the most extreme persecution of Christians. Under the current government of Prime Minister Modi, religious persecution and hate crimes have increased and have become more deadly. The BJP government has an ideology of Hindu nationalism. This is an ideology of hatred that seeks to destroy religious minorities in the country and create a Hindu state. Many high-level politicians in India have publicly called for violence against religious minorities in the country. They are not held to account for encouraging violence, and there are high levels of impurity inside the country. If the Prime Minister did not take action to protect persecuted minority in Manipur, despite the clear evidence again, this pattern is not isolated. The government has not taken action to address the high level of persecution inside the country. Instead, the government has passed a new law such as a cow protection. Cow protection. The people who eat the beef, they killing. Have you ever seen in the world happen this? So eating a hamburger, is a killing, but no one asking why. Where is the freedom? So they're killing that one. It is happening. And they passed the citizenship amendment against religion and ethnic minorities, including that targeting of Christian in Manipur and across the country. The targeting of a woman for sexual violence is part of these systematic abuses that are happening across India. Today, including in the northeastern state, the pattern of violence have been happening for years without acknowledgement by the international community. If the Australian government should take action to highlight the persecution of Christians in India, it should apply diplomatic pressures and the Indian government to provide increased protection for religious and the ethnic and minorities. The Australian government should also consider holding a commission of inquiry into religious and ethnic persecution in India. Australia also consider apply sanction and individual leaders for serious human rights violation using the amendment sanctioned Amendment Act 2021. It should also call for the creation of a United Nations fact-finding mission to establish the fact around the event in Manipur and across the country. By establishing the truth, such efforts can contribute to the holding the government of India to account for the atrocities it is allowing inside the country. It can also provide important evidence on which governments such as Australian can pursue further efforts protect prosecution minorities inside the country. So till now, till this day, Prime Minister did not open his mouth. Still is killing is going on. Why? Why? So you people, I know you lost the human being, we have to present, and I have all the reports here written by Australian National University professor Cecilia Jacob. I wrote this one to hand over to Honorable MP, present in our parliament. So you can go through. Thank you. So all the detail is here. Thank you for listening. And so in this time, what I can say, I have a story in Tamil, just I take only 1 minute. So, and a small valley, ஒரு பள்ளத்தாக்குல ஒரு கூட்டம் ஆடுகள் இருந்தது. அந்த காட்டுக்குள்ள குறைவு நரிகள் இருந்தது. அந்த நரிகள் எல்லாம் சேர்ந்து ஆட்டுக்குள்ள புகுந்து தப்பான காரியம் சொல்லி ஆடு சண்டையோட வச்சது. சாரி ஸ்பீக்கர். ஓகே. ஆடு சண்டையோட வச்சு ரத்தம். So both goats are hit each other. Blood shedding is the goat. In the village, some coyotes and foxes went inside of the sheep, given misunderstanding, telling them this and that, and they hit each other, blood shedding. So then this coyote and fox, they enjoy with that blood. That is the story happening. I pray to God, let God will bring a peace to that nation, India, as well also, please do the needful for Manipur, not only that, the whole India. God bless you.
Thank you, Reverend James Jacob. Thank you for your insights. Let's march forward with determination, compassion, and unwavering commitment to the cause of ending violence against the things that are happening in Manipur. It's my honor to introduce Ms. Abigail Boyd, Member of Legislative Council, a dedicated and accomplished member of Australian Greens Party. She was instrumental in making sure our voices are heard by hosting this assembly for us this afternoon. With impressive background in law and a passionate commitment to social and environmental issues, Ms. Boyd has actively served the party in various leadership roles, including as the National Secretary and National Deputy Secretary of the Australian Greens. As staunch advocate for women's safety, Ms. Boyd has consistently worked to address domestic and family violence, economic inequality, and environmental degradation. Let me call upon Ms. Abigail Boyd to share her thoughts on the Manipur incident and the broader societal impact.
Thank you so much for inviting me to speak with you today and for allowing me to be part of this really important gathering. I want to acknowledge that we are meeting here today on the lands of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I pay my respects to elders past and present, and acknowledge that this land was and always will be Aboriginal land. Thank you so much for coming here today. To the people we've already heard from and to those who will be speaking after me, for sharing your views. It's wonderful to have so many people here who are from faith-based as well as non-faith-based groups, standing in solidarity and support with all women and people in Manipur. The Greens stand with the Indian diaspora community here in Australia and women in Manipur today and every day, and we won't stop fighting to have your voices heard. And it's so important to raise our voices and to call out the continued sexual violence and atrocities that we are seeing in Manipur. It's absolutely heartbreaking to hear. And we demand justice for minority, Dalit and Indigenous communities across India. We stand with you. The shocking and really abhorrent news of recent violent attacks on women in Manipur have rightfully sparked anger here in Australia. Unfortunately, they haven't got as much media attention as they deserve. We must stand up and speak out about these injustices and condemn them for what they are. The Prime Minister of India has condemned this recent attack by Meitei men on Kuki women, but only after months and months of silence about this violence and abuse of women in Manipur. Our leaders have an obligation to stand up for what's right and to do everything in their power to protect women from violence and abuse, no matter where it's taking place, but particularly when it is affecting minority communities. Silence is really powerful, especially when it comes from our elected leaders, and we cannot overlook that. And so that's why Australia must stand in solidarity with women in Manipur and with the Indian diaspora here in Australia. We must not turn away. For months, thousands of people have been forced to flee their homes in Manipur because of military violence. Hundreds have been murdered or injured, and most of these victims are women. The women's rights movement has been fighting for change for decades to protect women from violence and conflict, but action is far too slow. And when women speak out, especially women in minority communities, they too often are shut down and don't get the justice that they deserve. We must put an end to the culture of impunity that is strengthened across the world with every successive instance of violence against women perpetrated by armed officials. And we must fight for an end to these attacks and for genuine social and economic restitution for all victims. As we join together today for our candlelight visual later on, we must remember each of the lives lost to the violence and atrocities in Manipur and not lose hope or strength in our fight for justice. On behalf of the Greens, we won't stop fighting, and together we will see justice for every life torn apart by violence. Thank you again.
Thank you, Ms. Abigail Wood, for sharing your profound insights and highlighting the pressing issues we face. One thing I just want to ask you, all of you, when we are saying about forced flee and people are seeking some other different places or country or state to live, what is there in that safer place? What things you find in that safer place, like you can take in Australia or in the States and other places?
What's the question?
Yeah, my question is, once when they are fleeing to a different state or different place or different country, what's that remaining or the best thing make them to feel safe?
Democracy.
Democracy,
Rule of law.
rule of law, yes.
Freedom.
System should be there. Sorry,
Freedom of speech.
freedom to speak,
Following the
yes.
constitution,
What's it?
following the constitution.
Following the constitution, yes. Who are all should be responsible for doing all these ones to maintain the safety, following the constitution or maintaining the law? Who should be responsible for that?
Everyone.
Everyone, but what is making us to bind to those laws? Government and the constitution, yes, that's what I leave it to you to think. And now let's move on to. I also want to introduce Honorable Anthony G. Adam, a member of the Legislative Council. His deep-seated interest in work health and safety, education, community engagement, employment law, and workers' rights reflect his passion for creating a just and equitable society. Please join us on this. Please join us to address this distressing incident.
Well, thank you for the invitation to come and speak at this very important event. I'd also like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land and paying respects to elders past and present, and acknowledge that this is, was and always will be Aboriginal land. I wanted to also acknowledge the presence of Lee Rhiannon. I go to a lot of events where issues of human rights are top of the agenda, and Lee has always been a consistent fighter for human rights, and even in retirement from her parliamentary career, she continued to advocate. I have a great deal of respect for Lee and her work. I want to come here primarily to show solidarity with the struggle of minorities everywhere in India, in this particular case, but everywhere, for the right to live in peace, to live and enjoy the freedom to enjoy your culture and to live without persecution and to enjoy the benefits of democracy. And I've stood back and watched with horror as the state of Indian democracy has systematically been dismantled by the BJP government. And I think, I've observed across the globe, there is a emerging trend of fomenting hatred and division on the basis of communal identity to serve a very nasty form of politics. I actually think this is the antecedents of fascism, when you use the vulnerable position of a minority group and you use the rhetoric of communal superiority to create and engender hatred for political purposes. You're really treading down a path of fascism. And we all have a responsibility to stand against that. And I think that's what's in evidence here. And there's no question that while we're all appalled at the incident that has emerged on social media, but I mean, that's just one of many. I'm sure there are many other incidents that haven't been documented in the way that this horrible incident was. Now, many victims, their stories have gone untold, and we need to reflect on that, and we need to make sure that those stories do get told and there is justice for those who suffered that persecution. But ultimately, the perpetrators are emboldened because of the leadership, the political leadership that exists in the country. And I think we have to accept that the Modi government, the BJP, have really emboldened this kind of action, and they have to be held responsible for what's happened. And I think there's an obligation, of course, in Australia for us to make sure that our relations with India are not subordinated to the imperatives of kind of pragmatic foreign policy, that we have the strength of our convictions to be able to tell India when we disapprove of what they're doing and demand that they live up to the aspirations of the Indian Constitution to be a democratic country. Because I mean, democracy is not just majority rule, it's majority rule with minority rights. If minorities can't be secure, then you don't really have a democracy. And all the rhetoric that we might say in our exchanges in foreign policy around Australia and India sharing a common bond of democracy, well, that's meaningless if India doesn't live up to that expectation, and they're holding it to that. I really just wanted to come here and express my solidarity and if I can do anything to assist in the struggle to get justice for minorities of Manipur and other minorities in India, whether it's Kashmir, in Punjab, many instances of human rights violations in India. We need to continue to be loud in our advocacy for justice. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You hit the place on the right place, and to say the exact point that we were actually being worried about and looking for the changes as well. Thank you so much. Thank you for your thought-provoking speech, and Honorable Anthony Giardin. Adding to the already tragic toll of suffering from deaths and burning down villages stemming from piled unresolved socio-political issues, Innocent women become victims of unspeakable cruelty. It really goes back the nation and the question, how can we claim to be a just and progressive society when violence against women is used as a weapon for power and control during conflicts? Our next speaker is a remarkable individual who embodies the spirit of advocacy and cultural preservation. Let us call on stage Ms. Andrea Neville, United for Human Rights National Indigenous Coordinator and distinguished broadcaster known by a DJ persona, Body Girl, or on Kuri FM. Let's eagerly anticipate the valuable perspective she will bring to our discussion today.
Hi. Thank you to MP Abigail Boyle for putting on this meeting today. I want to just thank you to the previous speakers, the Honorary Anthony Diadam, Miss Mary Mizzo for that heart-melting speech as well, and to the Right Reverend James Jacob. Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to speak today. I feel extremely privileged to contribute to this gathering here. First of all, I want to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nations, the traditional custodians of the lands on which this building is situated and where we stand today. I want to pay my respects to all the elders past and present and into the future. As an Indigenous woman of Australia, I also want to extend my deepest respects to the families of the people who were killed or inhumanely treated and violated in Manipur. As I'm standing here today, make it known that this world has no place for any such behaviour from anyone at any time, under any circumstances whatsoever. In light of what has happened in Manipur, as a human rights advocate, I wish today to stress some extremely relevant points. First of all, I want to call for YouTube to delete any remaining graphic videos which are being crassly circulated around the world, causing the Indian community and many others an utterly unnecessary distress. Secondly, the Kuki people of Manipur are fully entitled to their human rights, just as everyone else is. Thank you. These human rights were stated in 1948 by the United Nations in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. India was one of the countries who voted in favour of adopting this declaration of our human rights. Unfortunately, no country put this declaration into law. It became optional. And today, we are faced with the consequences of that omission. In light of why we are meeting today, let me read you some points out of the Universal Declaration. Article 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights states, all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. Article 2 states, everyone is entitled to all the rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration, without distinction of any kind, such as race, colour, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth or other status. Article 5 states, no one shall be subjected to torture or to cruel, inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment. My next point is this. There are times in life where one deserves to have her human rights respected. There are times where one can demand that one's human rights be respected. Isn't that right? But this is extremely difficult, almost impossible, when the other person does not even know that the human rights exist or what they are. Therefore, the task before all of us is twofold. One, demand for human rights to be respected for all peoples everywhere. And 2, teach others what the human rights are. We will never achieve a positive change in the world unless both of these actions are taken. Thus, all of us, every single one of us, has a role to play to make human rights a reality by educating all people everywhere of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and do the work needed to get these rights understood, realised, and being used every day. Today, I brought copies of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and if you wish to have a copy, please take one at the box as you leave. And I want to thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to speak here today. I, again, as a First Nations person, a woman, I pay my deepest, deepest respects, and I give my love and my heart to the Manipur people and their loved ones. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Miller, for your enlightening speech. We are honored to have had the privilege of listening to your insights today. Thank you. And it's not the simple way that we are here and I'm a woman standing here. So many women has fought long before to make women to stand here at some point of time. So we are going to be the seeds, sowing some seeds for the future peaceful generation to be here. And our audience today involves Australian politicians, scholars, professionals, social thinkers, and the members of our community, because we believe in the power of collective voices to demand change and justice for the victims in Manipur. As we stand in protest, we call for an end to such an horrific acts and for the implementation of strict measures to hold the perpetrators accountable. Our next speaker has built her own reputation as a dedicated lawyer and a passionate community advocate. Please join on the podium, Ms. Durgavan.
Thank you, Kanthi. Hello, everyone. I'd like to start by acknowledging the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of the land that we are meeting in today, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and to Andrea and other Aboriginal people with us in this room today. I'd like to also acknowledge Abigail Boyd for hosting us in the oldest Parliament of Australia here in New South Wales, and also Anthony D'Adam, MLC, for taking time out to be with us at short notice. A special acknowledgement, of course, to former Senator Lee Rhiannon, who has stood with us through many human rights issue fight, and an acknowledgement of the love that you have for all people here. And I raise this in every meeting that Lee is at, and in 2008, when the Tamil people in Sri Lanka was facing a genocide, and we had a Gillard government in place, and the Tamil people, we were fighting for the rights of our people during that genocide and seeking a ceasefire to be called by the Australian government on the streets of Australia. The only person who stood up for us in the Australian Parliament at that time was Lee Rhiannon. So she is brave and really somebody that we respect and thank for standing with us when we were alone. And so it is amazing to have you all here today. I want to particularly give my love and solidarity to Aya, who is here from the Kuki community, and Mary. Also, thank you so much for being so brave and courageous and here representing your community and speaking to us. And we are here for you in solidarity, and we'll always be here for you. In saying that, when I was asked to speak, I really wanted to thank all the people here today. Thank you. This is not a flashy, popular campaign in the media. It's not something that we're even as the diaspora are allowed to speak about openly in social media. We are condemned if we speak about the rights of Dalits and minorities and indigenous people in India. We're told India is the largest democracy. It is amazing, fantastic. We should be sharing our culture, waving the flag. We should be wearing our clothes, eating the food, because we're fighting racism here in Australia. Just because we're doing that, it does not mean that we turn a blind eye to the human rights abuses that are happening in the countries that we have fled and come to here. So this morning, when I was speaking to my students, I'm an academic at Western Sydney University, and I was telling them that I was coming to this event. There were some questions. Students were asking questions such as, why do you have to talk about it at the New South Wales Parliament? It's something that happened in Manipur, a small state somewhere in the north of India, and not even many Indian people care about it. Why are you going to do this? I'm so glad my students are so brave enough to ask those questions, because it's important to ask those questions. And when I circulated the flyer to my contacts and I asked them the many events and festivities and organizational cultural events that I go to, I circulated the flyer to all of those organizations and said, please send a representative, please come, because we want to share our love and our solidarity to the women of Manipur. We want to share our love and solidarity to the diaspora community, the community in Manipur. We want to show solidarity to the women of Manipur and say, you are silenced there through violence. You're silenced there through internet and social media bans. You're silenced through through many, many ways by the government and the authorities there. But we will speak for you. Through us, your stories will live on. We will speak for you. We will make it be heard. And we wanted to bring you, all of you, community leaders, faith-based leaders, and government leaders here. We have Councillor Susai Benjamin from Blacktown, also at the back. And it is important that we have all of you here, because you can go and make a difference. You can speak to the community groups and organizations that you belong to about what's happening in Manipur, because it's serious. It's not flashy. It's not Bollywood. It's not making the news. But with your support, with you talking to people in your communities and organizations, we can have justice for the people of Manipur. Just as these rapes and atrocities were happening in Manipur, Prime Minister Modi was here in Australia on a trip, right? The Australian government and the New South Wales government welcomed him and hosted him here in a big 20,000 plus people gathering, where we had song and dance and fun and cultural activities, which is all very valid. But while that was going on, Manipur was burning. Women were being gang raped, right? There was silence and there was internet bans in that region. And the Prime Minister was in India, was here in Australia on a trip. That is not leadership. Leadership is that you are with your people in this time of need. And there is absolutely no excuse for this, because the Manipurian chief minister and the government there is a BJP government. The national government in India is a BJP government. The Home Affairs Minister spent 4 days, but after 76 days of silence, these two women that you probably saw screenshots of in video, they have been wanting justice for 76 days before their video had to be circulated on social media and online for the Indian government to take a stand. That is an absolute shame in the largest democracy. I'm not saying let's not celebrate all the fantastic things that the nations that we come from have and do, but let's also keep in mind that as Australians, we have the privilege in this country to speak up and speak out against these atrocities. I don't want you to waste any of your time in thinking that this cause has too many voices already, when that is not true. It doesn't. And the reason we are here in the oldest parliament of Australia in New South Wales is because this is the people's house and we are the people. This is the best place where we can be heard and the most important place for us in New South Wales to be heard. And if there was ever an issue, if there was ever such an atrocity in New South Wales and the New South Wales government was to turn a blind eye the way the Manipurian Chief Minister did, the way the Manipurian police were complicit in the gang violence, then we would expect, I as a woman in New South Wales would be expecting that other women around the country and around the world would stand up for me. And I know my sisters will. So here I am today asking you, if you were to take anything back from today, that you speak. You speak for Mary, you speak for Aya, you speak for their families, you speak for these Manipurian women by sharing what you have heard today with your organizations, community groups, your colleagues, your church, your temple, your mosque, your political party, your local branch, whatever it is. It is time to pass a motion, make it official, pass a motion in your next meeting in solidarity to our comrades who are fighting for human rights, for Dalit, minority and Indigenous groups across India. They fight a very difficult fight, a lonely fight, a dangerous fight every single day. They are, they're persecuted, they're locked up, they're tortured, and this is done very, very quietly. So we need you to speak up. And I'd like to thank the organizers, I can't name everyone, namely, but especially Kanti and Haroon and others who have taken the initiative to bring this to light and bring us all together here today. And to Abigail Boyd for giving us the opportunity and hosting us. It is a very sensitive political issue, but I don't think we need to crawl to any government that is doing these things. We are Australia, we're Australians, we should set the bar high. And we should say, look, we love you, but we also stand for human rights, we stand for justice, and we stand for equality for all in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Govan. Your speech really touched all of our hearts, and you really explained the burning issue and the important issues that's happening in India. And one more thing, Durgavan has provided one more idea to record all the speech and everything, and from the top of the name, and you all Australian politicians, they must know what's happening in Manipur and what we have done as a protest here in this parliament room today. So we will do it tonight to send it everyone. We will do it through Durga. And thank you, Durgavan, for offering this idea to us. Thank you for your contribution, Mr. Durgavan. Your dedication to advocating for justice and human rights is inspiring, and your words have left a lasting impact on all of us. I now invite on to stage Mr. Philip Imaraj, Elder Public Officer for Narvina Baptist Church, to not only condemn but call for the awareness and action.
Thank you for this honor, and I acknowledge the people of Gadigal people here. We live on their land. We're grateful for their invitation to settle here. This is our home. I just want to represent all the churches, the people, even back in Manipur, who have lived there for years, practicing their faith in tolerance, in ability to care for one another. They were Muslims, Hindus, Christians, all living in peace, except one judge's ruling caused havoc. It brought back all the terrible memories of the past and raised its ugly head in tribe versus tribe. This anger cannot be quenched by just water, sops, concessions. It has to be from the deep root of the problem at hand. And I believe God has that ability to do that from the inside out. This prayer that I acknowledge that we must continue to do every single day for the people of Manipur. The prayer of the faithful person continues to be answered and responded to. And I believe that all of us can acknowledge that the people of Manipur need our bended knees. I take this opportunity to ask for a 5-second silence. That silence is on behalf of those who've died. The silence of the women after they were raped. That silence signifies the voiceless cries of the orphans, left without care or concern, abandoned by the government that they voted for. That silence is for those hiding from the armed gangs that raided every house and tore it down. That silence is for the grief of families that they silence, their voiceless silence, it's because they see a government inactive, unable to work. That silence is our prayer to a living God. That silence is the aftermath of that incredible screams of rioting for murder, abusive insults hurled at the weak and vulnerable. That silence also signifies the Prime Minister Modi's response. Every second matters. I've sponsored a person who was there in the land of Imphal, raising up 20 orphan children. He and his wife looked after these children. He went to the border towns to try and find a safe place for them to live in. And on his way back, he was murdered. That was last week. Every second counts. Our inactivity makes it harder for those living back in Manipur. And I would like us to recognize we cannot be silent anymore. And as Durga said, we continue to talk about it, tell people. And I make it a reason to talk to it. This issue from the pulpits, from the churches, from the religious places. There's no escape for the Manipuris. They now mistrust neighbors. There's no escape from the nightmares that will haunt them through. The explosions, the pistol shots, and the rifle fire, the screams. There's no escape from the disappointments of running to friends and seeing unwelcome faces, turning them away. There's no escape pleading to the security guards for security and safety and being denied. There's no escape for the government that allowed them to die. These are our brothers and our sisters. These are the people that we acknowledge are made in the image of man. Then where is this hatred? Where is the place for this anger? The anger that stems from their heart needs to be addressed. There needs to be discourse. And the only way I can see is for governments, authorities, people, the villages, the village chiefs, all to sit together over a table and discuss and be able to understand each other again, to lay down their battle axes and to live in harmony again. These valleys and these hills will not ring out with the human laughter until that is sorted out. The home that they once knew will have to be rebuilt again. And so we request those in politics, those in the government, to continue to raise awareness in whatever way you can. We know you feel it. We know you have the heart. The only way I believe that we can continue to make the people of Manipur safe is by acknowledging that PM Modi needs to take an action. We can request, we can write letters, we can ask the politicians, but PM Modi and his government and his people need to act. If not, then there's only one way that a democratic nation can vote them back out of power. I plead for all the people of India to acknowledge that solidarity means acknowledging that their fellow brothers and sisters are struggling for life, for their very next breath. And if so, we need to vote appropriately. May God power the Green Lantern, the Labour Lantern, and the Liberal Lantern. May they continue to shine with the Manipuris to lead the way for their voices to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Imaraj. By joining hands, we hope to create a ripple effect of awareness that will permeate across borders and lead to concrete steps in preventing violence against happening with humanity in Manipur, protecting their rights and ensuring their safety, and especially for women and children. I invite Mr. Salahuddin Shahul Hamid from Tamil Nadu, Australian Muslim Society, to provide his perspective on the issue. I invite him to send a strong message of solidarity, demanding a world where all women can live without fear and any violence against them is met with swift and unyielding justice, and where interfaith unity prevails over division.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank every one of you for this participation. When Mary gave the speech, I don't know, everyone was broke. But at this time, what we can say is we are here. We are here for you. We are here for your community. Not only your community, every minority community who suffers by this Modi regime. I hope you might hear the last few days there are other incidents happening in Haryana. Brutal violence against Muslims. Every week, every day, there is some minority violences. Where India going, I don't know, to be honest. I don't know what we can do. I was so happy to see everyone here for the sake of minority supporting Manipur. But where this government does, I don't know. Stand for Manipur, stand for women. We recently, I think in May, there are the women who brought gold medals and silver medals to the country of India. They have been sexually assaulted by BJP leader. Their protest has been handled very worst manner. They decided to throw the medals into Ganga River. And then WWF condemned that. There are so many things like this happening in India. 77 years, May 4th, this particular act being brought. We don't know how many incidents in Manipur. There may be more cruel one. Worse than this things may happen. But this particular two women's incident came to public after 77 days, but not by mainstream media. Not a single mainstream media brought this incident. There is no journalists or reporters in Manipur state. What are they doing? Where are the journalists? It's not just save Manipur, save journalism, save speech of freedom of speech in India. Save India, whole save India slogan should be part of this talk. 77 days, one single individual posted the video in Twitter. You know what are the next consequences? Central government condemned Twitter. The mainstream media has not brought this incident. Some, in social media, Facebook or Twitter, someone posted a video, but central government threatened Twitter. Same thing happened to BBC India a few months back. I'm not remember exactly what incident it is, but income tax raid has been happened on BBC India office because they published the article against the central government, Modi regime. So back to Manipur, no one will accept this cruel act because in India they used to call Bharat Mata ki Jai. They worship land with mother. But what happened to the women? Why? Maybe they may rape the girls using the slogan Bharat Mata ki Jai. Who knows? What they learned, they don't know. But not as I mean, I don't want to take much more time. We are past 4. So we as a not only a Muslim community or not Muslim as a single person, every one of us are here to support Manipur, Mary, and then hope, I would say, save India, as Dr. Jacob said and Peter said. We have the people of India should show this stand by voting next election. Thanks to everyone. Thanks especially to Gandhi for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shavnami. It's only by grappling with the uncomfortable truths and engaging in critical dialogue that we can hope to build a more just, inclusive, and compassionate society. I'm truly honored to introduce Lee Rhiannon, a former Greens NSW MP and later a member of Australian Senate, as her impact on policy and political reform extends beyond legislative halls as she continues to collaborate with communities striving for self-determination and justice. It is with great anticipation that we welcome her onto the stage to share her insights with us today. She has chosen herself to be the last speaker to make the Manipurians to speak first, and then she has chosen to be as the last speaker for. Thank you.
I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and pay tribute to their history, their culture, and their ongoing struggles for justice, which shamefully we know in this country remain so many. Look, it's a big thank you to all the speakers, to Abigail for hosting it, and to Kathy and to Haroon for organising it. Something like this takes a lot of organisation. Look, I'd very much endorse the comments of all the previous speakers. It's been very hard, I think, for us to listen to it, the shocking crimes. I thought Andrea summed it up very beautifully as she spoke about the love we have for the people of Manipur. Like, this is extraordinary that this has happened, and there's so few people talking about it, particularly government leaders. And I think that's a real reminder. And a number of people have touched on it. What do we do? When we walk out of here, what do we do? Because the silence from our leaders is a real comment that we have a big problem. And I would like to make the comparison, and we've heard about what happened here when Modi was here with Albanese, and what was going on in Manipur at the same time. Well, if these crimes had occurred in India, our foreign minister, our prime minister, would have spoken out against it publicly, would have used diplomatic channels to take it up, and would have called, I believe, more than likely on China to have an investigation. But when it comes to India, most Western countries, and I don't know one that has taken up Manipur, there is silence. And silence on most of the attacks on minorities. And as many speakers have said, and we know unfortunately, the attacks on minorities are something that is just happening so much. And I think that that's something that we need to build into our message, because what many people have spoken about today is that when we leave here, we need to take the message with us. I think Birgit summed that up so beautifully. Like, this conversation has to continue. And part of that conversation isn't just about Manipur. It isn't just about women. It is about what is happening to India. India that most of us grew up with. I'm 72. Went to India when I was 18 and fell in love with the place. And it was India, democratic, secular, exciting, and so much respect for all these different ideas that I'd never come across. And then what is it now? And this is what we need to take up, because what is happening in Manipur is crimes against humanity that hopefully someday somebody will be charged with. But these have been called pogroms. This has been occurring now for the past 2 decades in India. In 2002, we had at Gujarat, and then 2008 at Kandahar in the state of Odisha. Then in 2020, the terrible crimes in Delhi, when Trump, the former president, the US president, was there, and now in Manipur. So I mention that purely because there is a shocking trend here. And Anthony set it out very clearly, the problems going on, as did other speakers as well, with the BJP in office. This is, again, part of the narrative that we need to build in, that our own leaders need to recognise. It doesn't mean that they're going out and condemning them and causing trade problems, because I know they're worried about that. But in their dialogue, they need to take up this very serious issue of human rights. And again, referring to Andrea's speech, her speech, going back to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, we've got something there that is so powerful that our country, when they want to speak, our leaders speak about human rights, but they forget about what it means day by day for ordinary people. And that's what those crimes that we've seen. So I think let's, because we're over time, and I do need to wind up, and there's people I think waiting to come in. We're about to finish, I apologise. Just give us a couple of minutes. I think that we really need to stay in touch. We need to continue the work, and I think there is the work in Parliament. People have spoken about what needs to be happening in Parliament. There is a real issue that public money in New South Wales goes to some of these organisations and to the BJP. We need to deal with that. We need to have politicians passing motions about Manipur. And why this is so important is one thing I learned in Parliament: politicians have courage to act when there is a big public voice. It is so, so important. So that is really incredibly critical. And what all I think the speaker spoke about is having these conversations, one-to-one conversations. When you're having dinner, say on Sunday night, speak to family and friends about what you've learned today. When you're with your workmates, have a chat at morning tea time about these issues. The public awareness needs to be built, and we will be key to that. And finally, to Mary and Ia, thank you so much for joining us. I look forward to continue to work with you. I found it very moving and very upsetting, I've got to say. And so I think it's good to be with each other on these occasions. So we all can contribute to building human rights for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your tireless efforts in the realms of peace and women's movements. We need to be asking ourselves, does our silence and delayed response to such atrocities reveal a deeper empathy towards the suffering of marginalized communities, particularly women in conflict-ridden regions? And towards,
I request that Abigail
yeah,
would see whether all parties in this parliament can pass a united motion. on
Definitely.
expressing this sentiment.
we will close this, right?
Must have a collective, liberal, national, labor, green, all parties expressing concern, just concern. what's
Definitely.
going on.
Definitely, we will work hard to bring you on.
On protocols and policies.
Thank you, Mr. Cesar Benjamin. Well, definitely. Thank you, esteemed guests, social thinkers, and wider community for joining us today to stand in solidarity against violence and to advocate for women's safety. We must ask ourselves, in the pursuit of power and politics, have we lost sight of the humanity that binds us? Are we genuinely listening to the voices of the marginalized and oppressed? And are we willing to challenge the social norms to ensure a safer and more equitable world for all? An incident like this is a reminder that we have a long, long way to go. Let this gathering be a catalyst for change, igniting a passion within each of us to create a society that values every life, upholds the dignity of every individual, and champions the cause of justice and equality. Please take a moment to stand up and light each of your candles. Let the light of hope and unity guide on this journey of change. Together with our candles aglow, we can make a profound impact and pave the way for a brighter, safer future. Can I call upon Dr. Sasikumar Gurunathan to lead the light vision?
Light dim பண்ணிடுவோம்.
Light dim பண்ணலாம்.
Thank you very much. First, we acknowledge the landowners of this country and acknowledge all the speakers. I just want to mention to you, it all started 10 days ago when we didn't know what to do about this burning issue. And when I contacted Kanti on that day, what should we do about this thing? Kanti immediately jumped, and she was the backbone in building up everything. And we organized everything in 10 days' time, and we really appreciate Dr. Lee coming here, or Ms. Lee coming, and all the senators coming here, and also giving the host, giving us the space here. Just yes, yes. And just we need to everyone stand for a minute in silence, and everyone we stand in solidarity for everyone in people of Manipur, for the love, peace, and harmony we are spreading across the whole world. Thank you for 1 minute. Thank you. I just want to acknowledge the whole world is watching this now, and people are fasting for this moment, for this event. And Ms. Kritika Karan in India is fasting for the last 10 days without any food at all, and she wants to finish the fasting after this event is over. So we acknowledge her for that. And the other person, who's 2 persons in America, are also fasting for us. One is Sean, the other one is Mr. Peter. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming.
Thank you for being a part of this vital moment, and thank you for your presence and commitment to make a difference. I acknowledge all our distinguished guests, Ms. Gail Ward, MP, Honorable former Senator Ms. Lee Rhiannon, each and every one of you today. Dr. Sasinathan for being instrumental in initiating this assembly. Moses, Dr. Harun Hassan, Mr. Anna Madilnan, Mr. Prem Kumar, Mr. Konrad, and
I can wait for some more time.
Ms. Gulkanti Vinitran and Mr. Gulkan Gopal for media attention. Mr.
Not
John-
it'll be for some time.
You need to tell them that it's finished. Thank you so much for everybody. Thank you.
So viewers, you have been watching the protest demonstration from Australia, NSW Parliament, NSW Parliament building, Indian
Hi, everyone.
diaspora in
Thank you
Australia.
for being here.
So
It's an amazing event. But
things going on, it's going to end now.
it's a wonderful moment that we are all here to represent women. We should say stop. No more violence to women. As a woman, I would like to pledge to everybody and say, we are there for you, Manipur. We are there for you to support. No violence to women. That's all I could say here. Thank you for everybody who may be. Thank you.
So it was a very, very powerful demonstration and protest inside Parliament, NSW Parliament in Australia. So the legislators are asking for a ban on the VHP, a ban on the RSS, and funding ban. And also, it was very, very powerful message. Thank you, Mr. Sashi Kumar. Mr. Sashi Kumar, it was a wonderful protest. It was an amazing
Yes, it was very
demonstration
good.
there.
Yeah. So I think it's they're going to do something in the parliament to bring a bill or something.
Oh,
I
okay,
don't know
okay,
that
very good, very good. Yeah.
procedures. Yeah.
Yeah, so
And,
thank you so
that
much,
will
Mr.
be-
Sashi Kumar
that the
and
ministers will
Gandhi
speak on
for organizing this. And also, we are very happy to be a partner in, taking through our Tamil America TV platforms. Thank you so much, Mr. Sashi. And I also, thank our organizers here. Kirti, she's here, and Sean is here, and I thank everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. Sashi Kumar.
Thank you so much, Austin. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
So viewers,
Thank you,
protests
Kritika, and
everywhere.
thank you,
protests
everyone. Thank you for everyone who's participating in it from all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sashi Kumar. Yeah. So we have protests everywhere across the globe, and today we have seen a protest in Australia. In the Australian protest, we have a member of parliament, Miss Abigail Boyd. She participated, and there were like former members of parliament, and there are a lot of legislators. So the important thing, which you might have seen is they are asking for, they are requesting, and they are demanding for a ban on funding these associations, or organization, right, in India doing this violence. So they have requested, they have demanded a ban on funding to organizations like VHP, RSS. That's a very, very important model. Australia is going to lead this, like the communal fascist organization, association get fund, and they get a donation. Even in the US, they get 501c3 status. So that's a non-profit status, tax system status. So they get the status, and they get fund, they collect donations, right? They get government fund, right? So that was a very, very important demand by the legislators in Australia. So we will follow up, what's going on, and how it will go through. They may talk about this on the floor. They may bring some bill, some resolutions. It's a wonderful, wonderful demand, right? So we express our solidarity and support to the organizers of Indian Australian diaspora in Australia. So they have done a wonderful job. And I mean, other people, I mean, if you are watching this video and watching this protest, I mean, in your country, in your city, in your state, you can do protests, right? I mean, the protest, we don't need to have a lot of people. So like whoever possible, you can start, I mean, a protest in your home. There are, I mean, a lot of our friends, I mean, they are doing hunger strike. I mean, like we have a lot of our friends doing hunger strike. Our human rights activists and journalist Peter Friedrich, he broke his fast today, but still our Sean Shankaran and Kritika and Rashmi, Javed, right, I hope I pronounce the name right, and many other friends, I mean, they are doing protest, they are doing hunger strike, hunger fast. Then, I mean, we have friends in Bangalore, Coimbatore, Chennai, so they do token fast, right? So we all need to come together and express our support and solidarity to this cause. So if you do any protest or demonstration, hunger strike, let the Tamil America TV know. We'll be much happy to take your message across. Tamil America TV will be much happy to live stream and telecast your programs and your demonstration. Also, we have an exclusive program for Manipur, Save Manipur. That is Voice of People, Manipur Burning. Manipur Burning, Voice of People. So we invite anyone, I mean, watching this program, if you are interested to talk about Manipur and Manipur violence and share your perspective, you can contact us. You can comment, I mean, on the video wherever you see this video on multiple platforms. I mean, like numerous Facebook pages on YouTube, Twitter, right, anywhere, or you can contact us through our website, tamilamericatv.com. You can also, I mean, tweet us, or you can email us through admin@tamilamericatv.com. I'm looking forward to partner with you guys. We have, I mean, Sashi Kumar there. Let me ask him whether he likes to share something. Sashi Kumar, I mean, Mr. Sashi Kumar, do you like to share anything? You need to unmute your audio. Yes.
Yes, we need to leave now.
Okay,
the timing is over.
Yeah,
Okay?
very good. But yeah, Mr. Sashi Kumar,
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for organizing, for putting us on the media.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot.
welcome, Mr. Sashi Kumar.
And I understand that it's 1:30 in America, or 2:30 now.
Yes,
3 o'clock.
it is.
And you're sitting there.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Sashi
Thanks a
Kumar.
lot for
Thank
that.
you. Welcome. Yeah,
Thank
welcome.
you, Kirtika.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
you, and you're fasting.
Yeah,
well done.
Kirtika,
Yes.
the one who is fasting, I mean, I'm going to get to hear and find
We
out.
are very thankful and grateful for Kirtika. Yes.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Sashi Kumar. Mr. Sashi Kumar is expressing his gratitude for Kirtika. So, Kirtika, could you unmute your microphone? Yes. So, tell us, I mean, how is your fasting going on, and what are the other protests going around?
Today, 3 events are there. Peace protest, peace fasting. More than 105 people joined through online. They are doing 1-day token fast from their home.
Okay.
And second one is that Australian event. It's a great event. The legislators are there and they supported that and they wanted to stop funding. Such a grateful moment. I want to say big thanks to Dr. Shashi and Gandhi. They just started this event and it's going big actually. And it will spread all over the world. It's very much important event for Manipur peace. I feel that actually today.
Yes, I also see that because the legislators taking part and they also like raising voice, and they have like very genuine and very important demands. So we need to appreciate Indian and Australian diaspora and Dr. Sashi Kumar and Gandhi and all the organizers taking up this. That's what we need. Right? Indian immigrants living in different countries, we need to come together and we need to talk to those legislators, and these legislators need to voice our concern on the legislative flows. So that's a very important demand they made. Yeah. Thank you, Kirti. Thank you so much.
And one more event is evening. ISCUF is organizing a online and offline event. Online through this projector and audio video visuals in Kobe and Chennai, and online Zoom event today evening 7 o'clock. Peter, Frederick, and Sean and we are participating, and Ratan is organizing this. Ratan Chandrasekhar is organizing this, and ISKF members are going to come. Indian cultural, actually, yeah. That is cultural organization and for friendship, actually, that ISKF is there. So, yeah.
So they are organizing a protest.
They are organizing the event. These 3 events are there, and we are getting support from all over the world. And Livingston India is carrying the posters and everywhere with those cover with the one suitcase. She pasted everything, and she wherever she goes, she carries the message to all over the Switzerland. So from Europe also we are expecting so much support. All over the world we are getting support, and yesterday Vancouver also they protest against Manipur event. All over the world the voices are there, but we India, we protested, we supported during the disaster like Gujarat earthquake and Chennai flood and tsunami. But Manipur is in a worst state now. More than 72,000 to 1 lakh people are replaced, and so many, more than 300 camps are there. More than 500 places are burnt. What we are doing, we have to do rehabilitation work there. All Indians should go to Manipur and should donate something, or they have to donate their time. They should go there. Actually, why we are sitting at home, I don't know. We supported the Gujarat earthquake time period and Chennai flood period everywhere. Yeah, all the time we always support the disaster. But for Manipur disaster, I don't see such support from all over India. We must stand for Manipur. That is our India, our girls, our people. It's maybe Mighty or maybe Kuki. All are in camps, more than 300 camps. We have to support, we have to go. Medical people, they need medical people. I got so much messages from Manipur. They need gynecologists, they need medical team, they need nurses, they need mental health volunteers, they need bed sheets, so many things they need. We have to, this is the time to go and support Manipur. This is my request.
Thank you so much, Kirti. It's very well said. That those people are in need, and we should be willing to volunteer and help. I appreciate. Thank you joining online to this Australian protest and expressing your thing. Right? I appreciate. Thank you so much, Kirti. So, like viewers, kindly share this video on your social media pages and share with your friends, and invite your friends to support and have a dialogue, and continue to support and subscribe Tamil America TV. And I'll be joining you guys with another guest or another program very soon. உங்களிடமிருந்து விடைபெறுவது உங்கள் ஆஸ்டின். நன்றி, வணக்கம்.